Better health, better care, lower cost. Everyone's talking about healthcare, but how much do you know? Better Health is brought to you in part by Sleep Better Northwest. Explore the healthcare system and listen to experts with your host, Sue Lani Madsen, here on Better Health.
Hey, welcome to Better Health.
Thank you.
My guest this afternoon is Leslie Woodfill, who's the Special Events Coordinator with the Alzheimer's Association.
Thank you for having me today.
I'm glad you could come. I know you have a special event coming up, but first I'd like to start a little bit with just let's be clear about what Alzheimer's is and how there might be some differences with other kinds of dementia. That's kind of the big question to start with.
It is a big question because a lot of people, they only hear the word dementia or they only hear the word Alzheimer's. And they say, well, what's the difference? Is it the same? Or, they're unclear. So a good example would be to think of dementia, and it's called, the umbrella of dementia is, or the umbrella is called dementia. So think of an umbrella and it's called dementia, right? And then under that lives all the different kinds of dementias. Dementia with Lewy bodies, vascular dementia, frontal temporal, and then another one of them is Alzheimer's. So everybody in the dementia umbrella has dementia, but not everybody has Alzheimer's. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. So it's a particular kind. I know that different kinds of dementia is a hugely growing healthcare problem for the country. But Alzheimer's in particular is one that I know scares people.
Terrifies them.
Yeah. As I told you when we were chatting earlier, my father diagnosed himself with, he used to call it the big A, because we couldn't say the name. Had to call it that. And he passed in 2012. And I know that your mother had a condition as well.
Right. She had dementia with Lewy bodies, which is Alzheimer's, Parkinson's mix. And it's interesting because a lot of people who do have Alzheimer's or a dementia really are diagnosing themselves at first. They're realizing that something's going on. Sometimes they say something to somebody. Sometimes they just find out on their own what's going on, with it. And it's interesting because every 65 seconds, somebody is being diagnosed with an Alzheimer's or related dementia. That's crazy.
So what are people's first reaction when they get that? What have you seen in the people you work with?
Fear, sadness, confusion, like, what do I do next, and what's going to happen to me? And some people are like, I want to know straight up, like piece by piece, step by step, what are the different symptoms that are coming on. And knowledge is power. And I really recommend people who think that they're having some sort of Alzheimer's dementia-related disease to go and talk to a neurologist, and then come to us at the Alzheimer's Association, because we have support groups that can help you. You can talk to other people who have an Alzheimer's disease or a dementia. You can go to some of the different classes that we have about what to expect and how to interact with people with this disease. And it's so important to know that there's help there. So go to your neurologist, find out what's going on, and then come to us and we can show you what the path is.
Well, I know you have a helpline, and I've got a couple of questions, too, about the different groups that might use that helpline. But you have a number to give people.
Yeah, it's 1-800, and I'm going to look here because I don't remember numbers that well. 1-800-272-3900. And it's 24/7, 365, 7 days a week. It's the most valuable number I think you can ever have when you're talking about Alzheimer's.
Okay, and I know he's got it up on the screen for people if they're watching as well. So.
That's really good because there's times where you think, I don't know what to do, or, my person is acting like this. How do I react, and how do I make this better if I can make any part of it better? And this number is one where people call in. It's staffed by master level social workers. And what's nice is it's in 100 different languages too. So just because you don't speak English doesn't mean we don't have help for you.
Okay. So there is the patient, but then there's also, you said, your person. So there is a caregiver as well as one person. What are some things that the Alzheimer's Association can do for caregivers?
Well, what's really nice, first of all, is we do have support groups. And in our walk on this disease, I got my dad to finally go to a support group. He was not about to do it. He's the generation that's like, I'll handle it. I'll do it myself. But when he finally went, it was a greater understanding of the stress that he's under. It was great for him to see, oh, that's what, it's the disease, it's not the person, you know, and that's such an important piece that people don't understand. And then, like I had said, we had some education classes that we can offer about what's going on with the person that is your loved one, and what this disease is doing and how to react. But also, what are some pieces logistically you need to start putting into place with your wills, and what about housing down the road? You know, are you going to try to keep them home? What are some of your options? So we've got some information about that and somebody to talk to.
Well, there's a third piece of that triangle. There's the patient, their caregiver, and then there's the community and family around them who are a step removed. What's some advice that you would give to those folks?
We have a really great new resource. It's through the Alzheimer's Association and the Department of Health Services, Social and Health Services, and it's called the Dementia Action Collaborative. And they put together a book, and it's called the Dementia Roadmap. And you can find it online, and it's free. And this book, I will tell you what it tells you from, I think there's something going on, I'm not really sure. And, you know, how do I go about finding out these things? Who do I contact? And then once you're diagnosed, what the steps are along the way. And that book is so important because you can send the link to family who are away, and they can say, oh, I didn't know that piece was coming up, or I didn't know that symptom was showing already, or, you know, so where are you on the roadmap? And that's why it's called the Dementia Roadmap. So where are you on the map? And that's really important. And the other thing is that when you have somebody who's a caregiver at home and you have somebody who's far away, it's really important to have good communication and just be listening to what the person who is the caregiver is saying. And, you know, these are the things I'm seeing. And then for that person who's away, call that helpline as well and say, this is what they're saying. What do I do? How can I help? You know, what are my options of assistance at this point?
I know one of the things that can be a big help for a caregiver is just to get some respite, even if it's just an afternoon out. And well, now we used to call it dad sitting. And there are things that we could be doing. We could be doing jigsaw puzzles or different things that were just activities, or just sitting quietly and reading or watching TV together. So it doesn't have to be a big scary thing,
right?
To offer to provide that respite.
And that respite is so important. I would take my mom and we'd go to lunch and get pedicures, you know, and things like that. And Dad would nap.
Yeah.
You know, and it was like his chance just to sleep and not have to worry about, do I hear her getting up, or, you know, something like that. But it's also a great time. Don't leave your family members behind. You know, don't leave mom or dad saying, I can't get out. Grab them by the hand and say, you know, sis is going to stay and you're going to go see your friends, or you're going to go have coffee or something like that, because you want to keep them connected socially to their support group as well. And so it is important to really just, you know, take that time and let the caregiver have some respite time.
Yeah, it can be very isolating for the patient because nobody knows how do I talk to this person who isn't the same person I've always known. That's isolating, but for the caregiver as well.
Right, because they're trying to communicate with the person that they love, but you're right, the communication has changed, and so then that's lonely. You know, you're kind of just sitting by yourself a lot, you know, and while it's nice to be there near them, you get to a stage where you really want somebody to talk to as well.
Yeah. One of the other things with the difference between the Alzheimer's and dementia, I mean, if somebody comes to you with a question or with an issue, you're not going to say, oh, you don't have the right kind of dementia.
No. Because everybody who's a caregiver, you know, is going to need the assistance. So we're going to talk to them. And there's very similar things that happen with the different illnesses. You know, the starting is, you know, my learning and my cognition and being able to talk clear down to whatever the last
mom. So.
And so there's things that are always going to be the same that we've got help with ideas of how to handle that process and moving forward. So it doesn't matter what kind of dementia it is, we're there for you.
Okay, so if you have if you have some kind of a diagnosis like that and you're looking for some help, the Alzheimer's Association is a place that you could go. Yeah. Can we get that number back, pop that number back up there and let people know about that health line? And it says serving Washington and northern Idaho.
Yeah.
And so you do circulate in the, how much of Washington? All of Washington?
We are in all of Washington state. And then we also serve the 9 northern counties of Idaho. And then we have different chapters throughout. So there's nationwide coverage. If you live in New York and your mom lives in Spokane, you can still talk to the Alzheimer's Association, and the message of how to care and be a caregiver is going to be the same.
Well, and that's a good point as well, because very often, if it's someone who's elderly, they have kind of a far-flung family, and trying to get everybody on the same page can be an issue. It
can be an issue, especially nowadays where people are so diverse in where they live, in the United States. And you might just have one person here, with mom or dad, and they're trying to make that communication. And so it's nice to know that you're going to have the same information all across the board.
Okay. Well, I know you have also a walk coming up, and we'll touch on that real quick, and then when we come back, why don't we go ahead and take our break now, and then we can come back and talk about why we have these colorful flowers sitting on the desk.
I know, aren't they lovely?
And what events are coming up in the Spokane-Coeur d'Alene area.
Sounds great.
Hi everyone, I'm weather forecaster and assignment anchor at Spokane Talks Online, Colin Pittman, and I am honored to be the host of the new program, Spokane's Youth Spotlight, brought to you by Spokane Talks Online and the Spokesman Review, where we are interviewing and getting to know outstanding youth in our community each month. If you'd like to nominate someone in our community that you think should be recognized, that is doing something great here in the region or has an amazing story, visit SpokaneTalksOnline.com or Spokesman.com and look under Youth Spotlight to nominate. And be sure to tune in each month as we find the best in the Inland Northwest.
Hi, I'm Larry Myers, owner of River Ridge Hardware. Welcome to our garden center here on the corner of Garland and Driscoll. We have fresh plants that come in weekly from all of our local growers. We can make your garden look like our garden. Here at River Ridge, we've been here 30 years. We're your full-service neighborhood hardware store. This is our sprinkler aisle, where my knowledgeable staff will help you put together your sprinkler system so it will make your yard lush green for the spring and summer. This is River Ridge Hardware's rental center, where we provide a multitude of equipment for rent for the do-it-yourselfer. Next time you're working on your home or yard this spring and summer, stop by, say hi, and we'll help you get the project done.
See you tomorrow night, and thanks again for taking care of the painting.
I got this.
Bye.
Weekends are made for painting. Let the experts at Rada Paint take care of you.
Hi. This looks amazing.
Rada Paint, over 80 years of quality, tradition, and trust. Find it in every can.
Okay, well, we're back, and we're going to take a look at those nice, colorful flowers that you have for us.
So the Walk to End Alzheimer's, we've got 2 of them coming up. The first one's in Coeur d'Alene, and it's this Saturday on the 29th, and it's going to be
29th of September.
29th of September, and it's going to be at Riverstone. So it's a new location. It's always been over at McEwen Park. This year it's at Riverstone, and I think it's just going to be a beautiful, wonderful site. And then we have another walk the weekend after in Spokane, and that's our really big walk, and that's October the 6th.
Okay.
And it's at Riverfront Park, and it'll be between the carousel and the ice ribbon. So a lot of visibility. We're hoping about 1,300 people come.
How long is the walk?
It's about 3 miles.
Okay.
And the one in Coeur d'Alene goes out the Centennial Trail and back in. And then the one in Spokane goes past the carousel and out towards Gonzaga and back around. So it's a beautiful it's a walk in the park,
Yeah, literally.
So, literally, yeah. And it's going to be beautiful. I've ordered good weather.
Okay.
And so, I'm looking forward to that. But everybody who's at the walk carries a flower. And the flower is symbolic of their walk with this disease. Everybody loves the blue flower because they think it's so pretty. The blue flower represents if you have dementia or Alzheimer's. You would carry the blue flower. Oh, you get a
specific flower. Okay.
Right, yeah. So that's for a person with the disease. So the orange flower is if you're an advocate and you don't have anyone you love that has this disease, but you think this disease needs a cure. Okay. And you're going to stand up and you're going to raise awareness. You're going to talk to your Congress people about, advocacy and trying to get money for research, and you're that person.
Okay. So you might be that. Some of those might be healthcare providers who deal with a lot of patients. They might be in that advocate role.
They might, but they might be the yellow flower, which is the caregiver. So either you professionally are a caregiver, or somebody or somebody that you love has this disease, and you want to show that you're there to support them.
Okay.
The purple flower is the flower that if you've lost someone to this disease and they're no longer with you in your arms, but they're still with you in your heart and your mind, and you want to honor them. So you'd carry the purple flower. The white flower, I have to tell you, is my favorite flower of all. This is the flower of hope. And this flower in our area is always held by a child. And the reason for that is with the research that we're doing these days, that the children, of that generation will be the ones who never have to worry about getting Alzheimer's disease. And so the flower of hope is the white flower. And it's a one flower. It's symbolic, right?
There's only one?
There's only one that we carry.
How do you pick who gets to carry the white flower?
I know. Down the road, the whole field is going to be filled with white flowers, and there will be no blue flowers because we've either found something that has stopped this disease, or we've found something that this disease never starts in a person who maybe is genetically predispositioned to the disease. And they're working on that, and it's a serious consideration with some testing that they're doing with mice right now, and that they're clipping an enzyme, the BACE1 enzyme, and they're finding that it's seriously slowing the progression of the disease in mice that were raised with Alzheimer's. And then what's interesting is their babies who would genetically be predispositioned are not getting the disease. So that's incredible.
Okay.
And then there's another thing that they're doing. It's called the U.S. Pointer Study, and I really recommend people go online and look at this because it's interesting. They're looking at people's diets and their exercise levels and their cognitive and social stimulation, and they're finding that's having an effect on the progression of the disease as well. So there's a lot of stuff that's way too technical for me to understand and tell you all about, but there's a lot of things going on that we're hoping that white flower is going to be the flower.
The hope isn't just for slowing the progression, but finding something what's the trigger?
What's the trigger, yeah. And so it's like, I was at a conference, and one of the gentlemen said, and a man there that was a volunteer, can take her back to the way she was, but I'm working on something that will stop the progression of her disease, and I'm working on something so that your children and your grandchildren won't develop the disease. And he looked at the gentleman, and it gives me goosebumps, and he says, I don't like that you can't fix my wife. He said, but I do like that my kids won't ever have to deal with this. And then you fast forward into February, and they announced that study with the mice, and it's exactly what that researcher was telling him. So it's pretty exciting.
Well, I want to hold out for that hope as well, for many reasons, both from the empathy for those who live with it, having been there, done that.
Yep.
But also just the huge cost it has.
It's a huge cost. When you think about that right now, there's about 5.7 million people in the United States that are experiencing this disease, and then the caregivers.
So that's another 5.7 million plus there.
Oh, plus, yeah, because it's not just one person
Right.
usually. And you think of the economic impact. So through, that's like 16 million caregivers. And that's like $232 billion or something like that, that is being affected by the economy is getting pulled back from those people's salaries being gone now. Like my dad had to sell his business, and it's a huge deal. So
Yeah. Well, so let's go over that walk again, because the walk is intended also as a money raiser, not just an awareness raiser. How does it raise money?
So what we do is there is no fee to join the walk. That's free to come and be at the walk. But we ask you to get donations from your friends and family and colleagues and things, and bring them on down to the walk, and let's see that thermometer rise on our goal. And every little bit helps a little to do research, to do advocacy, and to do support groups for these people with the disease and their caregivers and families.
Okay, so if you think that one of these flowers might serve you, and you'll have to figure out how to.
It is, because imagine 1,300 people all out by the river, and the reflections and the colors of all these flowers. And the bigger thing is that if you're that yellow flower, or you're any of those colors, you can see I'm not the only one here that's a caregiver, or not the only one that's lost somebody I love. And if you're holding that blue flower, I'm not the only one here who has this disease. And I can go up to you and I can say, what do I do? How do you feel? What's going on with you? And then you can say to that person with the orange flower, thank you. Thank you for being the person that says we're going to find a cure for this disease and fighting for us to do it.
Okay. Well, that sounds like a wonderful, well-organized event. Congratulations to you, Special Events Coordinator. I'll look forward to seeing how that how
Come
that
on
works
down
out.
and walk with us.
I will see if I can make it into Spokane at that time.
Yep.
And thank you for coming and sharing your information. I want to put that phone number up one more time for people to know where to call for information.
And then don't forget, October 6th down at Riverfront Park. Just come on down. The walk goes off at 10 o'clock, but registration starts at 8:30. And September 29th in Coeur d'Alene, same time.
Okay, September 29th, Coeur d'Alene, October 6th at Riverfront Park in Spokane. And there is a phone number you can call. And it's okay to talk about this.
It is okay to talk about this, and it's important to talk about it.
Okay. So, don't leave your neighbors, friends, and family that are carrying the blue or the orange or the yellow flower caregiving alone, and just go ahead